Tulsa's thriving arts community has found new ways to reduce risk and harm so they can continue providing us with the distractions, beauty, and community that we all need so much during this difficult time. Join Kristi, Eaton, and our guests to learn more about how our Tulsa arts community has risen to the occasion.
Art can take many forms. It can be visual, literary, dance, music, and so much more. Welcome to the latest edition of Tulsa Talks. This time we are discussing art. Today we are speaking with Molly O'Connor from the Oklahoma Arts Council, Kelly McLeod-Shingen with World Stage Theater Company, Sarah Phoenix and Jared Kopp with Theater Tulsa, Marcello Angelini with Tulsa Ballet, and Keith Elder with Tulsa Symphony. Each organization has found its own unique way to cope with COVID-19.
When we were trying to figure out what do we do when COVID stepped in and interrupted our plans, so rudely interrupted our plans, we wanted to make sure that we were engaging with our audience. You know, we're still a relatively new company. We've only been in existence for 3 years. And so just as we were beginning to gain some momentum and gain our ground and find our audience, we had to, be on a hiatus or this extended intermission. And so I think that what we felt like we needed to do, or the thing that would help to continue to engage our audiences, was to do it in a way that we feel in some ways sets us apart from the other companies, right? So we do these really thought-provoking pieces, and instead of just saying, okay, I hope you enjoyed the show, go home, we engage people in a talk back, not just with how did you learn those lines, but also the themes of the productions that we put on. So we know that there's some really tough topics. We've dealt with things anywhere from immigration, U.S. immigration, to we've done things around what does it mean to be a young person coming out and beginning to recognize that their sexual identity and orientation is not necessarily something that the community would appreciate. So what does that look like in teen communities, particularly communities of color?
This all hit in March, which was at the tail end of our season. So we've had to cancel 2 concerts, but traditionally, we do not perform in the summertime. So this has given us an opportunity to sort of relook at how we're going to be working in the fall. Thanks to our generous donors in the support of this community, we've been able to continue to move forward. And, we're committed to bringing classical music and orchestral music to the community of Tulsa in the fall.
We've kind of taken a little bit of a different approach. I mean, I know we've talked before about how this is kind of a day-by-day thing because it's just changing constantly. I had the gut feeling very early on that we were not going to be able to present our upcoming 2021 season as we'd originally planned. What we do in the Williams Theater at the PAC is pretty traditional theater, musical theater, and we had set our season to go with the particular months, and it was set to start in August, and we just decided to move that entire season out 1 year. So instead of beginning in August of 2020, we'd begin in August of 2021. And as of March, we still had 3 shows incomplete from this previous season as well. And so we kind of took the approach of if we bump that whole season out, then we have some flexibility to be a little bit nimble and adjust and do the programming that we're able to do as things develop. We hoped that we would be able to bring back some of the shows that didn't get to the stage last season. It's really forced us to really look at some alternative programming, things that we wouldn't normally be doing. We've been thinking outside of the box in order to serve the community in different ways, but also to help our organization stay afloat so that we are here in 21, 22. So we've we took our summer academy with the kids online. That was a reasonable success, but the really great thing that came from that is that we've developed a whole adult education program for the fall, because we've had a lot of success with the older teens and students and wanting more education that way. So we've got about 12 different new projects in the works for this upcoming year. And it also has given us a little bit of a breather. Like, sometimes when you're in production, you're just like on this hamster wheel and it's one thing after another, and you're working on 5 productions at once and all in various stages. And it's been nice to have a break to like clean out our shop and our, or organize our costume shop and, do some things that we just never have time to do because we're constantly producing shows. So in a way, it's actually been a really positive thing for us thus far. We have a lot of experimental things coming and we'll see how those go. We're just going to throw them out there and hope a couple of them stick and go from there.
Add to that, along with the experimental things that we're working on, the ones that stick have so much potential for the future that the ones that become a success, we can see it extending as a supplement to our regular season of programming that we normally do. Just more opportunities to generate revenue, serve the community, educate people. It's a very exciting time actually, because we're not stuck into that paradigm of what our next show is going to be. Now, a show or a service or a class can be so many different things for us that we're just experimenting and trying new things all the time.
It's forced us to figure out, who are we as an organization and what stories do we want to tell to our audiences, right? We don't want to be something that we're not. We don't want to try to suddenly, mount a huge theatrical production digitally, because we felt like something would be lost, and we also felt like there were some companies that have been longer established here in Tulsa that might be able to do a better job of that, and we don't want to be something that we're not.
So I feel like when the pandemic first hit, there was sort of that time where we didn't know how long we would be working from home or in quarantine status. So I think one thing that we have done is we've shifted as this has drawn out in terms of how we can work and how we can still serve the field. I think the thing that was apparent in the early days of COVID, when it was really sinking in as a reality here in Oklahoma, is that our work is so connected to the work of arts and cultural organizations throughout the state, and the health and vibrancy and the ability of those organizations and their employees to work.
We kept ballet classes going for our dancers. Each one of them received a piece of Marley. And we did classes 3 times a week via Zoom, so that the dancers wouldn't go out of shape totally, because that's another problem for us. They say if you don't dance for a day, you will notice. If you don't dance for 2 days, your teacher will notice. If you don't dance for a week, everybody will notice. Well, here we are 6 months later. And as far as keeping in touch with the outside world, we streamed. We were one of the first American companies to stream part of our repertory for free. So every couple of weeks, we streamed a different piece, from contemporary works to Romeo and Juliet. And we had people from all over the world watching our shows, which was great while we were all under house arrests, while we couldn't go out. But now that people are out and about, we decided to slow down and do one every 3 to 4 weeks, because obviously people want to go out. They don't want to stay inside and watch a ballet.
Leaders of the organizations say they were the first to be affected and may be the last to overcome the economic situation. But some organizations are finding unique ways to cope with the pandemic.
Oh yeah, the arts are set because there's so much arts funding, but that only set us up for now and for this moment. It's not a sustainable business model to keep looking for grant money. At some point, we have to have a product and sell that product, and the fact that we've had to be in shutdown for so long is very troubling. The uncertainty of it is what really gets to me.
There's definitely been a camaraderie and a teamwork of like, okay, we're going to get through this. But again, it goes back to how long can we keep them on? I don't know. You know, we're trying. It just depends on how things go.
Our musicians, you know, they play in orchestras all over the region, and there's no performing going on. So their whole livelihood from performing, because our symphony musicians also play for the opera. And if the opera cancels, then they're not playing opera. But it also ripple effects out to our musicians in teaching, and they're not able to be in the schools, and they're not able to do one-on-one teaching. And, you know, trying to do this whole switch to video teaching, what has been interesting that I've been looking at least for the classical music realm, is that if you're a student, you can study with anybody in the entire world now, because everybody's out of work and is looking to teach and looking to make some sort of income. And so people are able to sort of pick the market of whoever they want to study with. And, you know, technology, it can be a challenge. I mean, this thing hit fast, and to be able to ramp up technology and ramp up things for lessons has been hard. And that's on the musician side. We've been very fortunate on the staff side. They've been working incredibly hard to look at what we're doing, that we've been able to keep our staff on and working. But, you know, we have technical staff and the PAC staff. And then you look at, you know, if we're not doing performances, we're not using the hotels and we're not using the restaurant. And, you know, it's a little challenging. People are starting to get, you know, screen fatigue. I mean, the number of Zoom calls I think we're all on in one day is significant. And then at the end of the day, do you want to go home and then watch on a screen something? But this is where I go to. This is a long haul. This is not going to be over. When people are starting to cancel, oh, we'll just cancel September, October, November, January. This is a long haul. We're going to have to come up with strategies of how are we going to get through this year. And this year is going to really determine, you know, how organizations will come out of this and come out of this stronger and stronger for this community.
It's hurt a lot of our organizations that rely so heavily on audience-based performances and things where ticket income is a huge component of their income. And so we know that a lot of organizations have found creative ways that they can still present or sort of get through the last few months. But again, I think long term it's going to be something that you know, none of us were really prepared for, or none of us had really predicted this could have happened.
Despite the challenges, the arts in Tulsa aren't giving up and have found unique ways to thrive.
And I hope instead of getting used to not being out doing all the cultural and fun things that we have in our community, that people will embrace them even more and appreciate them, because their absence really does leave a hole in our community and in our individual lives. And I'm hopeful that there's a renaissance.
One of our big taglines that we put out there was, "We're not going away, and neither should you." And that is the main message that we've been having for Tulsa, is that Theater Tulsa is going to stick around, and you need to stick around and see what we're going to do next, and be ready to support as much as you can.
It's a challenge for everybody, and you know, from the financial end, we are not all okay. We are doing what we can to be able to provide the service of the arts back to this community. When this community is looking at bringing in business development, when this community is looking at really building itself, it is going to be the arts, which is going to be a major piece of that pie that a corporation is going to look at when they're looking at coming to a city, or when they're looking at, because when a corporation looks to come to a city, they're looking for, what are my workers going to do? What kind of community is the community? And an arts community, it's been proven, a community that supports the arts, the performing arts, the visual arts, is a community that people want to live in.
that can all change if we keep wearing masks and we do a better job at stopping the spread of COVID-19. And if that happens, and whenever that happens, we are going to go back to the PAC to perform the large shows. So maybe one message that we want to send to everybody in Tulsa, regardless of their political affiliations and personal beliefs, wear a mask. If you want to see ballet, if you want to see Broadway, if you want to see the symphony, if you want to see the opera again, wear a mask and help us come back to work.
Thank you to Kristi Eaton and to all of our guests, and thank you for watching. I hope you'll join me again for the next episode of Tulsa Talks.